Good morning, and welcome back to The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket. Today, we are reading chapter 6, and let's see what happens. If you remember at the end of yesterday, they were deciding, or as they went to sleep, they were wondering to themselves how they might be able to escape Count Olaf. So let's see if there's a plan in place, because a couple chapters ago, Count Olaf had said to his theater troupe that he has a plan. But we don't know what the plan is yet, so maybe today we'll be able to find out. So let's dive in and check it out. Here we go. Chapter 6. The next morning, when the children stumbled sleepily from their bedroom into the kitchen, rather than a note from Count Olaf, they found Count Olaf himself. "Good morning, orphans! I have your oatmeal all ready in bowls for you." The children took their seats at the kitchen table and stared nervously into their oatmeal. If you knew Count Olaf and he suddenly served you a meal, wouldn't you be afraid there was something terrible in it, like poison or ground glass? But instead, Violet, Klaus, and Sunny found fresh raspberries had been sprinkled on top of each of their portions. The Baudelaire orphans hadn't had raspberries since their parents died, although they were extremely fond of them. Thank you, Klaus said carefully, picking up one of the raspberries and examining it. Perhaps these were poison berries that just looked like delicious ones. Count Olaf, seeing how suspiciously Klaus was looking at the berries, smiled, plucked one of the berries out of Sunny's bowl, popped it up, and ate it right there in front of the three youngsters. "Aren't raspberries delicious? They were my favorite berries when I was your age." I don't know about you, but I'm just going to call a very quick timeout because I am wondering to myself, what is Count Olaf up to? I think maybe that plan is coming to place. Or maybe last night he had a really bad dream and he's going to change his ways. I don't know. What do you think? Let's dive in and find out. Violet tried to picture Count Olaf as a youngster but couldn't. His shiny eyes, bony hands, and shadowy smile all seemed to be things only adults possess. Despite her fear of him, however, she took her spoon in her right hand and began to eat her oatmeal. Count Olaf had eaten some, so it probably wasn't poisonous, and anyway, she was very hungry. Klaus began to eat. Also, as did Sunny, who got oatmeal and raspberries all over her face. "I received a phone call yesterday," Count Olaf said, "from Mr. Poe. He told me you children have been there to see him." The children quickly exchanged glances and hoped their visit would be in confidence, a phrase which here meant kept kind of between Mr. Poe and the orphans, and not blabbed to Count Olaf. "Mr. Poe told me that you appeared to be having some difficulty adjusting to life, so I have graciously provided here for you. And I am very sorry to hear that." The children looked at Count Olaf. His face was very serious, as if he were very sorry to hear that, but his eyes were shiny and bright, the way they were when someone is telling a joke. "Is that so?" Violet said. "I'm sorry Mr. Poe bothered you." "Oh, no, I'm glad he did. Because I want the three of you to feel right at home here at my house. I am your father." The children shuddered a little bit, remembering their own kind father and gazing sadly at the poor substitution now sitting across the table from them. "Lately, I've been a little bit nervous about my performances with the theater troupe, and I'm afraid that I may have been acting a bit standoffish." The word standoffish is a wonderful one, but it does not describe Count Olaf's behavior toward the children. It means reluctant to associate with others, and it might describe somebody who, during a party, would stand in the corner and not talk to anyone. It would not describe somebody who provides one bed for three people to sleep in, forces them to do horrible chores, and strikes them across the face. There are many words for people like that, but standoffish is not one of them. Klaus knew the word standoffish and almost laughed out loud when Count Olaf used the incorrect use of it, but his face still had a bruise on it, so Klaus remained silent. "Therefore, I shall make you feel a little bit more at home. I would like you to have you participate in my next play. Perhaps if you took part in the work that I do, you would be less likely to run off complaining to Mr. Poe." "In what way might we participate?" Violet asked. She was thinking of all the chores they already did for Count Olaf and was not in the mood to do any more. "Well, The play I'm writing right now is called The Marvelous Marriage. And I'm performing it, and it was actually written by Al Funcoot. We'll give only one performance this Friday night. It's about a man who is very brave and intelligent, played, of course, by me. In the finale, he marries the young, beautiful woman he loves in front of a crowd of cheering people. You, Klaus, and Sonny. You'll be some of the cheering people in the crowd. But we're shorter than most adults, Klaus said. Wouldn't we look a little strange in the audience? Oh, you'll be playing two little people that attend the wedding, Olaf said patiently. And what will I do? Violet said. I'm handy with tools, so perhaps I could build a set. Build a set? Heavens no. A pretty girl like you shouldn't be working backstage. But I like to do that. Count Olaf's one eyebrow lifted. And the Baudelaire orphans recognized this as a sign of anger. But then the eyebrow went back down as he forced himself to remain nice and calm. But I have such an important role for you on stage. You're going to play the young woman that I married. Violet felt her oatmeal and raspberries shift around in her stomach, as if she just caught the flu. It was bad enough having Count Olaf act in loco parentis and announcing himself as their father, but to consider the man as her husband, even for the purposes of a play, was even more dreadful. It's a very important role, although you have no other lines more than, I do, which you will say when Justice Strauss asks you if you'll marry me. Justice Strauss? What does she have to do with this? She has agreed to play the part of the judge. Count Olaf said. Behind him, one of the eyes painted on the kitchen walls closely watched over each of the Baudelaire children. I asked Justice Strauss to participate because I wanted to be neighborly, as well as fatherly. Count Olaf, Violet said, and stopped herself. She wanted to argue her way out of playing the bride, but she didn't want to make him angry. Father, she said, I'm not sure I'm talented enough to perform in a play professionally. I would hate to disgrace your good name and the name of the playwright Al Funcoot. Plus, I'm very busy in the next few weeks working on my inventions and learning how to prepare roast beef, she added quickly, remembering how he behaved for dinner. Count Olaf reached out one of his spidery hands and stroked Violet on the chin, looking deeply into her eyes. You will, he said, participate in the theatrical performance. I would prefer it if you would participate voluntarily, but as I believe Mr. Poe explained to you, I can order you to participate and you must obey. Olaf's sharp, dirty fingernails gently scratched at Violet's chin as she shivered. The room was very quiet, very, very quiet, as Olaf finally let go and stood up and left without a word. The Baudelaire children listened to his heavy footsteps go up the stairs to the tower they were forbidden to enter. Well, I guess it won't hurt to be in the play, Klaus said. It seems very important to him. And we want to keep on his good side. He's up to something, Violet said. You don't think those berries were poisoned, do you? Klaus asked worriedly. No. Olaf is after our fortune. We're going to inherit. Killing us would do him no good. But what good does it have him do to be in this stupid play? I don't know, Violet added miserably. She stood up and stared and started washing the oatmeal bowls. I wish I knew something more about the inheritance law. I bet Count Olaf has cooked up some plan to get our money, but I don't know what it could be. I guess we could ask Mr. Poe about it, Violet said, doubtfully, as Klaus stood beside her and dried the dishes. He knows all those Latin legal phrases. But Mr. Poe will probably call Count Olaf again, and then he'd know we're on to him. Maybe we should try to talk to Justice Strauss. She's a judge. She must know about the law. But she's also Olaf's neighbor, and she might tell him that we asked. Klaus took off his glasses, which he often did when thinking hard. How could we find out about the law without Olaf's knowledge? Book! Sonny shrieked. She probably meant something like, would somebody please wipe my face? But it made Violet and Klaus look at each other. Book. They were both thinking the same thing. Probably the same thing that you and I are thinking right now. Surely Justice Strauss would have a book on inheritance law. Count Olaf didn't leave us any chores to do, so I suppose we're free to visit Justice Strauss in her library. Yes, indeed. And you know, today, I don't think I'm going to choose a book on wolves. Nor I, Violet shouted, on mechanical engineering. I think I'd like to read about the inheritance law. Well, let's go, Klaus said. Justice Strauss said we could come over soon, and we don't want to be standoffish. At the mention of the word that Count Olaf had used so ridiculously, the Baudelaire orphans all laughed. Even Sonny, who of course did not have a very big vocabulary. Swiftly, they put away the clean oatmeal bowls into the kitchen cupboards, which were watched them with painted eyes. Then the three young children ran next door. Friday, the day of the performance, was only a few days off, and the children want to figure out Count Olaf's plan as quickly as possible. I'd like to know Count Olaf's plan too, but I guess we're going to have to wait until Chapter 7. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow.